Yo, what's good? We're back with another one.
It's showtime.
7 years of research, I've never seen anything like this before. This is a motor that cells use to move around. You have trillions of them in you right now. That is the top of a column in a Hindu temple. The level of detail and craftsmanship is one thing, but there's a level of geometric and engineering knowledge that is closer to what we see in aircraft manufacturing. That turbine and the biomotor both do the same thing so that an airplane and bacteria can move. If this isn't depicting the same thing, you're gonna have to explain to me where the design inspiration came from that coupler and the little stator guy right here. No way they could see these things. These things are complex molecular parts that are assembled and held together by electrons and run on electricity so bacteria can move. This little guy is what gets me though. He's like a little clutch that engages the molecules so it can spin. That's not what that is. Run it back. In the little animation, you know what you see when you look straight up into that motor? You see this thing right here. If you look straight up in one of these temples, guess what you see? There's a pile of coincidences and then there's a pile of explanations, and this pile is getting quite large. Last one, they may look the same, but the biomotor runs on electrical frequency, which I would have labeled with a snake if I was writing a manual for this thing.
We should use AI to analyze the shapes of these structures.
I'm too busy building Skynet, bro.
OpenAI just went full DARPA. They're not building chatbots anymore. No, they're building Skynet right here on American soil. OpenAI just secured a $200 million U.S. defense contract teaming up with Anduril Industries, the same company developing autonomous drones, robotic surveillance towers, and AI-powered battlefield systems. This is real. This is official, and this isn't some sci-fi movie. It's happening now. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, and Palmer Luckey, founder of Anduril and creator of Oculus, are now working together on military-grade artificial intelligence. AI that doesn't just talk, it thinks, it tracks, and in some cases, it may even pull the trigger. The same company that gave you ChatGPT is now building the brains for war machines. And that $200 million contract? It's just the beginning. You think this is about national security, but what happens when the line between defense and domestic control disappears?
We don't fully understand if AI is going to become conscious, but they just carry on building killer robots.
They're fucking crazy, bro.
You cannot have AI without humans, but you can have humans without AI. But the delusion, sometimes driven even by corporate interests, that, oh, we are creating conscious entities here, and we should talk about the ethics of how to treat AI, which I find insulting, that discussion. For as long as there is one child in this world that doesn't have enough to eat, to talk about the ethics of how to treat AI is insulting to human dignity. Not to mention that it's incredibly stupid. It's something you can fantasize about as a child, but as an adult, it's an idea you shouldn't even for a moment consider seriously. So there are great dangers associated with great opportunities, as usually is the case. Nuclear power, great opportunity, great danger. It's always the case. AI is the next nuclear power plant. We may have a Chernobyl, or we may have free energy. We'll see.
He's wrong, bro. AGI is coming.
I think corporations using AI is scarier than AI becoming conscious.
I'm just curious, like, what in your mind, what could go wrong?
I mean, there's like, the obvious thing is that some corporation hacks your brain. Well, it's a corporation hacks your brain, which even that's pretty bad, but that'll be like what? They'll like send ads directly to your brain, or they'll like make it so that you want to buy their products or whatnot. But then even worse, obviously, a, you know, foreign actor, a terrorist, an adversary, a state actor, you know, hacks into your brain and takes your memories, or takes, you know, like manipulates you, or all these things. I mean, that's obviously pretty bad. If you have a direct link into someone's brain, and you have the ability to like read their memories, control their thoughts, read their thoughts, like, you know, that's pretty bad. I've talked to a lot of scientists in this space, and a lot of people working on this stuff, including the folks at Neuralink. And, you know, mind reading and mind control are like, that is where the technology will go over time.
Bro, we might need to start wearing tinfoil hats.
For fuck's sake, I'm not wearing a tinfoil hat.
Someone smuggled a cell phone out of North Korea. So North Korea banned the internet, basically. They have like their own internet, but there's no way to see what's happening outside North Korea. But their phones, it's a smartphone, but it has basically nothing on it. But they do it to where if you text certain things, it changes the word. So one of them, I guess a very popular term in South Korea is like brother, but it's like yo dude or like whatever. And when you type in brother on that phone, it autocorrects it to comrade. And then it has like a notification that says you can only use this word when referring to someone in your family. And then if you type in South Korea, it switches to puppet state.
You know, it's controlling speech, like the words you use.
Yeah, but what it also does is every 5 minutes, it takes a screenshot of your phone and stores it in a folder on your phone that you can't look at. Only the authorities can look at it.
Oh, man.
So it showed like this whole folder of screenshots, but it was like blurred out, and then like authorities have access to look at the screenshot.
When something gets texted or sent, they get flagged and they can go through it immediately.
Yeah.
Well, there's just a digital middleman in every conversation.
Yeah, I believe it. I so believe it.
Yeah, and then later on, they're definitely going to be controlling certain things, like especially when things go awry. Like they'll have to control certain info or ways of speech.
That's insane.
It'll be like that here soon, bro.
I've never heard anyone else ever talk about this. Thunder, low, bass, drum. These are long waves. Long wave sounds travel longer throughout the environment. It dawned on me, oh my God, this may mean that drum circles, indigenous people, pagans, people celebrating a harvest, they're all coming together in community and they're drumming. And as they're drumming, these long wave sound frequencies are literally going into the mycelial networks that are underneath their feet, that are in your immediate surroundings. The mycelium is like strings on a guitar, like strings on a piano or a violin. They are reverberating from the thunderous beating of humans celebrating nature and life is causing the mycelial networks to grow. And as the mycelium is growing, it's giving more nutrients. It's helping all these other life cycles. There's more potential fruits, berries, nuts. So it emanates throughout the ecosystem. And so I realized, oh my gosh, this may be actually a feedback loop. When you're celebrating in community with music, you are actually communicating with the mycelial networks. And every one of those fibers are resonating from the sound waves, and they're responding with their fruitful acknowledgement and being able to provide you with greater sustenance.
Seems like we've got so far from how we're actually meant to be living on this planet.
Because of people like Bill Gates, bro.
Bill Gates' food coding is now approved on organic produce. Appeal, the Bill Gates-backed company, has now been officially approved for use on U.S. organic produce. Yeah, that's right. The same organic fruits and veggies you trust to be pure and chemical-free, well, they're now being treated with a chemical coating designed to make them look fresh longer. But here's where it gets shady. Regulators approved Appeal as a fungicide, not a coating, a technical loophole that slides it under organic certification rules. So while you think you're buying clean, untouched food, you're actually getting produce treated with compounds that critics warn may leave behind residues like arsenic, lead, cadmium, and palladium. Sure, they tell you it's all within FDA limits, but do you really want that on your plate? But here's the bigger question nobody's asking. If the organic label can be quietly compromised, what's next? And how much of what we're eating is already part of a system we never agreed to? Because this isn't just about longer lasting fruit. It's about control over the entire food supply.
But FDA's fucked.
It's the WEF, right?
In 2020, an exclusive organization for the world's most powerful people, called Stakeholders, enacted a 10-year transition to a global, authoritarian political system called stakeholder capitalism.
It's a funeral of shareholder capitalism, and it's a birth of stakeholder capitalism.
You have shown us the way forward.
One of their agendas by 2030 is to own the food supply chain.
Bill Gates became the largest individual owner of farmland.
According to their reports, this is what they want us to eat.
GMO wheat. Every piece of corn I've ever eaten is GMO corn. So these are things that billions of years of using these products have been done. Anyway, these are proven products.
The stakeholders have an initiative to ban livestock.
Cows alone account for about 6% of global emissions. So we need to change cows.
And increase our consumption of
artificial meat, like Impossible or Beyond Meat, both of which I invested in.
We'll have the convenience of printing it from our homes. Or luckily for us,
today the European Commission has officially declared mealworms to be food.
We can choose real meat that's climate change friendly.
Mealworms, crickets, grasshoppers. These tiny insects, just over 2 centimeters long, could be key to feeding the planet.
As the stakeholders continue to scare us with their climate change propaganda,
climate change. It threatens to tip tens of millions of people over the edge into food insecurity, followed by malnutrition, mass hunger and famine in a crisis that could last for years.
We also expose the World Economic Forum's initiatives.
The Netherlands will host the World Economic Forum Food Innovation Hubs
that are designed to remove ownership of family farms.
This means turfing people off their farms.
Massive farmer protests have broken out around the Netherlands.
Thousands of farmers have been protesting on the outskirts of Delhi.
Trudeau is not alone. Leaders from 4 countries, they want governments like India to scrap farmer-friendly laws.
Good evening. Farmers all over the country walked off the paddock today and took their tractors to town.
Every foot farmer you see here today will be gone by 2030.
Hundreds of French farmers drove their tractors to Paris.
Last weekend, once again, I had a colleague himself.
You're not the only farmer with this problem.
Farmers all over the world are getting fucked over.
Bill Gates is always involved, right?
You start to see people like Bill Gates gobble up farmland, and you read what his foundation says about farming when they say that we're going to have a particular type of agriculture. They want large blocks run by the government or by private consortia where they say we're not going to have animal-based proteins, we're not going to have stockyards, we're not going to have turkey farms, we're not going to have chicken. The academic mind always has the answers, but never in the real world. And they do a lot of damage.
Everywhere you look, small and medium-sized farms being gobbled up by these corporate mega farms because they can't keep up anymore. They can't comply with these endless streams of regulations that are coming down. We're seeing that in China now, where these giant mechanized corporate, big government-controlled mega farms are displacing all these little small family farms that families have been farming for hundreds of years, in some cases longer. They're moving them all off their little plots of land and moving them into these big, horrific mega cities that they have built. And we're going to see that all over the world with the decimation of small farms. So if they're not bankrupted by economic forces, the government itself will shut them down.
Everything is falling apart. Yeah, there is a shortage of food.
Unless you buy your food from a local farm shop, corporations already control your entire food intake.
If it was about the environment, they'd do something about plastic, bro. It's about control.
India's built 30,000 kilometers of plastic roads, and the Netherlands is building modular roads from waste. So why aren't the rest of us? We throw out millions of tons of plastic every year. Most of it ends up in landfills, oceans, or burned into the air. Some countries found a smarter way, melting it down and turning it into roads. What India's found after building 30,000 kilometers of plastic roads is that they're stronger, more flexible, and last 2 to 3 times longer than traditional asphalt. And they use about 1 million plastic bags per kilometer. Normal roads crack due to heat and water damage, but plastic roads bend, they don't break. They're resistant to potholes, flooding, and temperature swings from -40 to 80 degrees above. In the Netherlands, engineers took it even further than that, building fully modular plastic roads that snap together like Lego. They install 70% faster, they last longer, and even have room inside for drainage and sensors.
It's cheap, it's effective, it eats trash. So why isn't it everywhere? Why isn't this everywhere? Although some experts worry about microplastics and chemical leaching.
It's better than it all going in the ocean. Should be doing this everywhere.
Plastic roads ain't part of the New World Order, bro.
These are the genes in the reproductive cells that make sperm and eggs, essentially a la carte designing of people. Everybody seems to be able to see that's problematic, ethically and otherwise, yet right under our noses, Big Ag is genetically engineering soil microbes. Why? Is the dirt that's been on this earth for millennia not good enough? Genetically modifying organisms in the dirt will have far-reaching effects that could be disastrous. The arrogance of biochemical engineers astounds me. The usual ag giants like Bayer, Syngenta, and BASF are manipulating yet another aspect of agriculture. They've packaged up these new biologicals with super herbicides like glyphosate and atrazine, with genetically modified seeds, put a bow on it, and called it regenerative agriculture. Well, I like the old regenerative agriculture with seed saving, crop rotation, livestock innovation, crop overlay. People can argue about the safety of glyphosate and atrazine, but one thing's for sure, Big Ag is going to have a proprietary lock on the whole of farming at the rate they're going. You're going to need the new GE microbes to nourish the GE seeds. 2 live GE microbes are currently being used on millions of acres of US farms, and the EPA's website states they've registered 8 more. These are organisms like bacteria, fungi, viruses, algae, protozoa. Genetic modifications can move between species and national boundaries on the wind. When these are released into the environment, you can't gather them back up again. The regulatory agencies that oversee their use have no monitoring protocols on the spread and environmental effects. We don't know what genes have been modified. That's trade secret information that's redacted from most of the application documents. Experience tells us that monsters can emerge when you mess with microbiome balance, especially their genes. The EPA and the USDA need to step up regulatory review on biologicals. Here's another good reason to buy organic.
We've got to start growing our own food.
They're starting to grow humans, bro.
British and American researchers, they've created the first synthetic human embryos.
Yeah, it's a terrifying prospect, and when you read about it, it feels a little bit Black Mirror-ish in a way. These synthetic human embryos were created from stem cells. They're groundbreaking for The Guardian, at least, because they required no eggs or sperm. The embryos could be crucial in determining things like genetic disorders or even perhaps treating repeated miscarriages. But as The Guardian notes, this discovery also falls beyond the realm of regulation in the UK and in most countries, so it does raise a lot of ethical issues.
This is a recipe for disaster.
They're gonna start making designer humans, bro.
Now, Japan and Children's Hospital of Philadelphia have both solidified they're in the final stages now of deploying artificial wombs.
Japanese scientists have spent the last several years developing the world's first artificial womb outside of the human body, and it's done. But this is real life. Here we are. They call this EVE therapy, or ex vivo uterine environment, the EVE system, which isn't totally dystopian at all, replicating a human womb for babies that are born extremely prematurely or are extremely sick and need more time to develop, which is not a bad thing whatsoever, rather than enabling full-term gestation outside of the human body. Basically, if you are born way too soon and you need a lot more time to develop to be healthy and strong, they'd stick you right back in an artificial womb after you were born. But I can abso-freaking-lutely guarantee you it will never stay at just this altruistic, wonderful purpose.
What about a pharmaceutical startup nation? So one of these farmlands get bought up and Pfizer buys it. They decide to start utilizing this extend technology, and they finally figure out how to create prodigies. Call up the next startup nation over there at Starbase or Stargate or Technopolis, Washington, D.C. Hey, do you guys want 10 prodigies? It's only $100,000 a pop. Hey, military, you need a couple of those Jason Bourne? We got them over here. And they're just going to have a factory over at this startup nation for pharmaceutical companies.
I don't think they're going to start making superhumans, mate.
Trust me, bro. The CIA have been doing it for years.
There's this creature called the Kakamura. This thing is like a Bigfoot creature that also lives in the Solomon Islands. The theory is there's just multiple hybrid, like, human things that live in these islands.
Yeah, it's a breeding ground.
Yeah, but the Kakamura, basically like a 4 to 5 foot Bigfoot, and it goes in and kidnaps children and eats them.
That is terrifying. I'm just imagining this like dense little buff 5'4", like I mean just
like a Tasmanian devil
grabbing kids. That's terrifying, man.
But supposedly they make these they commute their language is this cackling.
Stop.
And the villagers all around the Solomon Islands talk about how they hear them in the woods at night gather together and they cackle talk and even sing songs in their cackling. But they're pretty unintelligent of what the locals said. That's why they come in and steal. They steal food as well, from their fruit trees.
Yeah.
But they don't even know how to make fire. But they're intelligent enough to come in and steal fire from villages.
You said Bigfoot was cold, right?
Yeah, Edwin ain't snatching kids.
Now, you've heard of sea monsters before, but this ocean cryptid is something else. Because it's so elusive, nobody knows what it is for sure, but it's earned the name, the black carpet. And over the course of several years, divers, fishermen, biologists, and crewmen on naval ships have reportedly had encounters with this massive entity. Deep-sea divers who witnessed this thing said it looked like the ocean floor itself was moving. It's been described as this 1,000-foot wide black mass, kind of in the shape of a Portuguese man-o'-war, but also similar to a gigantic siphonophore, although it's not that exact. And it's said to be covered in thin antennae and has thousands of these retractable tentacles. And according to the stories, this thing slowly roams the ocean floor, gathering nutrients and erasing any trace of life or animal remains in its wake, but it can also hitch a ride on ocean currents for faster travel. In 2005, a story surfaced of this former worker from a German oil rig that was located between Iceland and the Faroe Islands in the North Atlantic. Allegedly, he reported that one of these black carpet cryptids invaded the machinery room of the rig and slowly began to take it over and climb up the pillars of the rig. And apparently the people in charge decided that the best course of action was to abandon the rig entirely because there was nothing they could do to fight this thing off. The official story was that there was an oil leak that couldn't be fixed, so the existence of this creature and that incident was allegedly covered up. Interestingly, it's said that the black carpet makes a similar sound to the recording of the infamous bloop. Maybe they're one and the same.
We did an episode on the bloop. Go and check it out.
We need to check what's under Antarctica, bro.
So just picked up a radio signal in Antarctica, except it did not come from space. It came up through the Earth, through rock and through ice, and through another million reasons why that should not be possible. Mind you, this is not the first time we've picked up this signal. Back in 2006, a science balloon named Anita was flying over Antarctica, listening for cosmic particles like a stethoscope. Instead of catching signals falling down from the sky, Anita picked up signals coming up from the Earth. Honestly, it's like the Earth just sent a pulse through 2 miles of ice to say, hey, the gag is this should be impossible. It takes a lot of scientific explanation, but the angle that this signal came from, no life can exist in that particular spot. Again, a lot of scientific shit, but not neutrinos, not light, nothing can survive at the angle this signal came from. That we know of, at least. Something's under the ice in Antarctica, y'all. Because Anita was not done picking up signals. She picked up another one in 2014. How are scientists explaining this? Well, they really can't, but there are a few theories. Like maybe it bounced off the ice in just the right way. Or maybe it's some type of new particle that we have yet to discover. Or maybe it's something under the ice that we did not put there. Under Antarctica is one of the Earth's last unexplored frontiers. There's a massive frozen hidden lake that hasn't been touched in 15 million years. We can talk about that some other time. The magnetic anomalies in Antarctica go crazy. So if a radio signal is coming from beneath the ice, from beneath Antarctica, what is it bouncing off of?
It's got to be coming from the surface and just bouncing off the ice.
Nah, bro. There's a pyramid under there.
Hey, we got a bit of weird footage coming out of Roswell, New Mexico, bro, of some strange lights over the desert shocking onlookers, and this was filmed in the evening. I'm going to zoom in for you in just a second just to see this a little bit closer, and I'll put the actual video at the end so you can listen to their reactions, but look at the state of this object, bruv. This thing looks like it's absolutely on fire. It's like skipping along, and it kind of reminds me of what we saw in China at the beginning of the year, most notably Beijing and Chongqing. I'll put the videos after this, but look at this thing, mate. It's mad. So this is the one from over Beijing, and this was seen over multiple days that kept reappearing back with no sort of correlation as to what or why this thing was there. Another angle from this one as well. Actually, no, this one was from Chongqing, actually, of the same sort of phenomena. Now, this one was from Portugal, if I can remember correctly, of the same sort of thing. And I'll put the Roswell, New Mexico one here. The New Mexico one looks like it's actually on fire, skipping across. It's a little bit weird, but it still has the same sort of behavior pattern as to what we've seen previously.
Looked like it could have been something natural.
What about this one then, bro?
What the hell is this, guys? We've got something really weird that's been captured by NASA Solar Orbiter as well as people on the ground. I mean, seriously, guys, what on earth is that? Seriously, this thing flies past the sun. It's a huge, huge spherical object, seriously, guys. Like, what the heck is it? It is so weird. Look at it there. What is that, guys? Caught by the NASA Solar Orbiter themselves. What is it? What is that? And this thing has been literally caught by the Solar Orbiter on a few occasions now. NASA has got quite a bit of footage of this huge spherical object passing by us and the sun. What the hell is that? Looks like some kind of alien flicking base, or some kind of possibly mothership. Maybe it's another flicking moon. What is it? Has anyone got any ideas, guys? Because honestly, it is seriously perplexing me. What is this object flying by our sun? It's really weird.
Explain that one, bro.
Yeah, I can't. That was weird.
Something big just happened, because this only takes off when we're all cooked. There's a lot going on right now, but if you are worried about World War III, watch this video right now and share it with someone. Because trust me, you and everybody needs to see this. So I've spoken a few times about this, the Doomsday Plane, which yes, took off yesterday. Everybody's freaking out online, the headlines all say, oh, the Doomsday Plane has taken off, guys, we are cooked. I'm sure you all know what the Doomsday Plane is. Obviously, it's not good. You can control everything from the skies. It can be refueled in the skies. But what some of you don't know is this actually does fly, like, normally once a year on routine tests. And yeah, they might be using it for other reasons, but oh well. Now, the main thing, obviously, is the situation in the Middle East is escalating and it is getting scarier, I won't deny. We now have Trump, who has approved Iran attack plans, but hasn't made his decision on if they're going to get involved or not, so I'll keep you posted. But of course, the headlines everywhere, the media outlets, everyone's saying World War III is coming. This is going to cause World War III. But it is not. I don't think World War III is ever going to happen, and do you want to know why? These people right here. The richest people on Earth, and the people above that, you know, everybody who is like the top of the top. We know these people will do anything to keep their money. They want to be the upper class, of course. If World War III broke out and people were firing nukes everywhere, it would be mutually assured destruction, which just means the whole Earth essentially is blown to smithereens. So what the hell would be the point in that? Because these people would be gone, and if they weren't gone, they wouldn't be upper class anymore because no one would be alive. Even if they had some ultra bunker which they survived in, wiped down 95% of the Earth, came out, their money doesn't mean anything. Not at all, because there won't be anything on Earth. There's always going to be wars and conflicts, but the fact now that everybody has nuclear weapons is scary and a threat, but it's highly unlikely anything major is going to happen worldwide with it. And as terrible as these conflicts in the Middle East and worldwide are, I don't think it will go completely global at this stage. But it's still scary times. The US and other countries could get involved in this war. It is escalating, but don't worry about full-blown World War III with nukes flying everywhere. And as always, I will keep you updated.
We might need to start digging a bunker, bro. But we'll have to save that for next time.
Hold up, Tim, we've got to do the giveaway.
Leave a comment for a chance to win in our next episode. Let's do this, bro.
Bang bang!
Blah, blah.
Click something from our website and we'll send it straight out.
That's TerraTensTowers.com. Look how dope these guys look, bro.
A big thanks to everyone buying the merch. Make sure you check the back of the neck tag. A lot of people don't notice it.
Join the Discord, bro. It's free.
And as always, thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one.